Our next stop through the northern territories of the Andes in Peru was the city of Cajamarca. It is one of the largest cities in Peru with a population of over 200,000 people. Built in a prevailing in this region colonial style, it makes a great experience riding through its old narrow streets, admiring the old architecture and flow of life. Cajamarca is a historic place and was founded before the Inca time, and it witnessed not only the birth of the empire, but some of the final moments of its eventual demise took place here as well, with this region being taken over by the conquistadores at the end of the Inca rule. In this very town, the legendary Room Full of Gold story took place. The Emperor Atahualpa of the Incas was taken captive by the invading army of the Spaniards, and after the bloody battle that took lives of many thousands of people on both sides, the captors, together with the captured, took refuge in the main cathedral of Cajamarca. Fearing the local people, many of whom lost their families in the battles, and were greatly angered, and that they would overpower the considerably smaller numbers of soldiers left after the massacre, they chose the protection of strong walls around them. The Emperor Atahualpa, in exchange for his freedom and a safe passage for the remaining army, promised to fill the room in which he was held with gold up to the ceiling. Lucrative offer was accepted, but as often happens, the gold was taken along with the life of the emperor, who still was killed in spite of the promises of freedom. That's one of the many stories of Cajamarca. It often was very irritating to forget to turn off the GoPro because it wasted battery and memory cards, but discovering this batch of long videos of us riding through the streets are actually my latest favorites. Cajamarca is a pretty good representation of most towns and cities we pass through in Peru, and here wandering through the streets you can see the way the life is set up in this very faraway land. Getting lost in a city first while looking for our hotel, and later trying to find the way out of it while being played with by the great god of all times, Mr. Google, which in most South American towns cannot be trusted with directions, but often is the only one that shows your hotel in a maze of tiny small streets. Though the way it gets you there through the maze is an adventure of its own. At least we got a great viewing of the surroundings in the city. All that brings you back into a life much different from the one most of us have back home. The contrast is rather stark. Side note, during most days we only probably made about 150 to 200 miles max, because most of the time the roads were like this one, right, left, right, left. And then gradually you find yourself at 15,000 feet and then down to 1,000 and up again, up and down, right and left, over and over again. At the altitude, we inevitably stop to drink some water and coffee, get dressed for the cold part of the journey, and, of course, admire the views. Now let me tell you a bit about the Canon del Pato. Canon del Pato, or the Duck Canyon. Don't ask me why, but pato is duck in Spanish, so... Anyway, it runs alongside the Rio Santa, I guess Santa is a saint, and to make a dwelling in this kind of place, you have to be a saint. It runs between the two ranges of the Andes, the Cordillera Negra and Cordillera Blanca. The dry and steep stone-clad walls of the mountains are not suitable for agriculture, and only rarely there are places that can be used for grazing for the animals. Cordillera Blanca, the snow-covered one, and Cordillera Negra, the dry and arid side, run parallel each other from north to south for about 100 miles. This corridor, or Corredor Wireless, at times has a width of only 10 to 15 miles, if measured from peak to peak on a map. Part of the Highway 3 end, with about 30 miles in length at the northern part of the route from Cajamarca to Caraz, includes about 50 tunnels carved out in stone corridor by hand. The road running alongside the river is very narrow and has barely enough space for only one car. And driving through these parts takes extra care, extra honking, and patience. Before entering each tunnel, you have to make sure there are no other vehicles, because to pass each other inside the tunnel would be rather difficult. Before 1950s, there used to be a highway here to the city of Caraz, but in 1952, another extension of highway started being built that would connect Caraz to the port city of Chimbote, and then further down to the northern city of Trujillo. Watching our various adventures, I often ask myself a question: how does it happen like this? Some of us dream of adventures and often never embark on them. Others, like myself for instance, never having dreamt of one, yet found myself in a faraway land away from home where I never even sat on a motorcycle. Out of the blue, meet a professional traveler and embark on a journey together. And from a regular ride along the Pan-American Highway, it unfurled itself into a journey of 920 days. Why? But we both just chose to live our lives curiously. And I think curiosity about life is something that has helped me to jump into the uncharted horizon and choose to ride on into the unknown alongside a complete stranger back then. Unknown lands, bizarre circumstances, no experience in adventure riding. And I sure know that Mike had a lot of curiosity to embark on this long journey alone towards Antarctica, halfway sure that perhaps he may never make it all the way or back. So to us, life is like this road with tunnels. Every time diving into the gaping opening with its humid darkness and blinding the senses unknown, we had to wonder, what is it gonna be on the other side? A sudden sharp turn on the side of a cliff, or confrontation with another vehicle, or breathtaking sunshine over the steep mountains sending reflections in a myriad of droplets of the fog hanging over the river. All you could do is step into it and then deal with what came next. It is so much like life. Enough philosophies. See you next time.